Hello everyone and welcome to my PhET Simulations professional development. I will today show you how to use this tool to implement interactive simulations in an online environment in your classroom. So what exactly is PhET Simulations? Well, it is a source of online simulations that can be used in a science classroom to simulate a real-life experiment that you would usually do with your students. If you look on the images on the screen, the left-hand side shows you all the different subjects that you could go into, such as physics, biology, chemistry, earth science, and so on. On the right-hand side are the physics breakdown categories, which I use because I teach high school physics. Each subject has their own breakdown. In order to use PhET simulations effectively, it's important to understand the different tools that you could use for the online simulations. For example, if you're working on an iPad versus a Chromebook versus a desktop computer, you could actually use different simulations. So it's important to understand what you're using inside of your classroom to get the most out of the software. When you are finally ready to implement an online simulation in your classroom, there's a number of different things that you need to take into consideration. First being, you should become familiar with the simulation, how it works, the tools that it can measure so that you could better explain it to your students. Next, you should create a worksheet, whether that means you're using one of the worksheets provided by PhET Simulations or you create your own worksheet. Next, you have the students collect the data. Followed by that, the students need to analyze the data. Finally, you should have your students discuss what happened in the data and then have your students turn in their final lab report. You should be a part of the simulations, but you shouldn't strictly tell the students what to do. They should have some free range on how to explore on their own. This is the homepage of PhET Simulations. On here, you could click for teacher registration. On this page, you could actually select what you are, whether you're a teacher or a special ed teacher or anything else within the school. And if you click next on the bottom right hand corner, you're able to actually create an account. Now, I already have an account, so I'm just going to log into my account here. So I type in my email, I use my school email so that it's linked to my school account. And then I click on Play with Simulations after I'm all logged in. So right on the homepage, they have this video with a really good introduction to what PhET Simulations is. So I encourage everyone to pause the video right now and go watch that video. And on the left-hand side, you could actually break it down by categories. So each of these simulations have a little logo next to them, and the logo tells you what type of software you need. So whether you need Flash Player or HTML5. Within the simulations, you could actually click on teacher resources under it, and you could watch sometimes a video about the simulation, and below that there's actually resources, some of which are sponsored by PhET and some of which aren't. You could break them down by grade level. These are resources that other teachers have uploaded. If you go into a simulation, this is what one of them looks like. Usually the control panel is on the right-hand side. You could play around with the simulation, see what you're able to measure, see what you're actually able to do. This one happens to be one that I've used recently for electric fields. So you could turn on different values, you could put in different charges, you're able to bring in different sensors to tell the electric field. You could bring in a ruler on a lot of them to measure distance. You could bring in this last thing to measure the voltage or the electric potential at different locations. So what I like to have with students do is create a Google Sheet so that they're able to analyze their data. So if you just open up Sheets, it actually works really well because a lot of teachers use Google Classroom and you could have them create the data here. And once they have the data created here, they're able to turn it into you on Google Classroom. So I'm just going to create some data that you would be able to show your students. So electric field strength, we could do distance, we could do charge. I'm just going to put in some numbers just so you could see a quick example of how Google Sheets can be used. And again, this isn't actual data, but this is just something you could do. And as a quick reminder, Google Sheets has a calculation function that allows you to do, the math on the actual program, so your students don't have to do it hand by hand. And then you drag it down, and now you would have this wonderful data table. So if we go back to PhET Simulations, this is the home page again, and if you click on the left-hand side by device, you could actually see what devices you could use certain simulations. So if you click on the Chromebook one, all of these would work on the Chromebook, and if you actually scroll all the way back to the top, you'll see that it's now available for Google Play, so you could actually go to download the app, and all these simulations will be there for you.